Welcome back to another episode of Dragon Ball Uncensored, a series where I give you my unscripted, uncensored, unedited thoughts about the Dragon Ball series. And this time I want to talk to you guys about Vegeta vs. Android 18 and why I think this is one of the most underrated fights in terms of how this actually changed the Dragon Ball series. So let's get started. So let's start off with what happened before. So originally, we thought that androids 19 and 20 were going to be the main androids of this arc. And a little bit of an insider, Toriyama actually had to change the focus of the androids to 16, 17, 18, and Cell because his editor didn't think it was cool to have a fat clown and an old man to be the main villains of the arc. So he actually changed it up. And, you know, as we're seeing everything take place, it was pretty easy up until this point so far. I mean, Goku was handling 19 pretty easily until he came down with the virus. Piccolo easily defeated Dr. Gero, and Vegeta easily fucked up and destroyed 19. So if you really think about it, it seemed like the battle was completely won. But then we find out about these new androids that Trunks even acknowledges were the real androids in 17 and 18. And the first thing is that their appearance isn't very intimidating. They look like normal people. Obviously, they're cyborgs, so they have a real human element to them. But 18 just looks like this beautiful young woman who's maybe in her late teens to early 20s at most. And the same thing with 17, who just looks like this rebellious rocker-style young guy who's just kind of like a rebellious type of character. But they don't really look like people who could be killing machines. And with the exception of their eyes, which I always feel like something about 17 and 18's eyes is so devious to them, they don't look intimidating at all. So it's like, wow, these are these really threatening androids. So Vegeta, you know, being what he is, he's brash. He wants to go off to attack them after Trunks is doing everything to stop them in their power not to encounter these androids. And he goes to fight them. And, you know, 18 comes out, and one thing I will say the dub did, which was really funny, is the dub added a lot of corny lines that really amplified how Vegeta was so egotistical against these androids, where he's like, I'm gonna turn you guys into lawnmower parts. They told me never to hit a lady. Like, he's literally just like saying all this shit to the androids. And the fight begins, and Vegeta's like all on the offensive. It looks like Vegeta's stronger than 18. It seems like all of his training is paid off, just like we saw in the fights against 19 and 20. And he's pushing 18 back, like she's on the defensive. A lot of people are dying in this fight, you know, in the anime version of the fight, because all of those truck drivers were being killed as a result of it. And there was that poor farmer who had like his whole like farm like destroyed with crops because of Vegeta's blast. But like, you know, 18 and Vegeta are fighting, and it looks like Vegeta's doing alright, but the fight all changes when 18 headbutts Vegeta out of nowhere. Vegeta couldn't even defend it. Like, you see like all of that blood like running down Vegeta's eye, and I feel like that was great symbolism to show a transition in the fight, where that blood signaled that this fight is now going to change on the side of the androids. And you see that, you know, Vegeta's still doing all right. It seems like, it looks like he's hurting 18, but in fact, he's not doing anything to her. And there was even a point where he even blasted her, and it did absolutely nothing besides damage her clothes. And Piccolo starts pointing out that, you know, the android is, you know, just holding back and letting Vegeta exhaust his energy before she attacks. And that's exactly what she did. And when she attacked Vegeta, she snapped his arm. And this was a pretty graphic scene to see Vegeta's arm just literally flip over like it was Stretch Armstrong, if you guys remember back in the day. If you guys remember Stretch Armstrong, let me know in the comment section below. I know there might be some people who forgot about him, but his arm literally looked like Stretch Armstrong after that. And seeing Trunks, who's weaker than Vegeta, by the way, jump in really signaled how drastic of a moment this was, as Trunks was much weaker than Vegeta, or at least moderately weaker than Vegeta, when you look at the fact that he only had like a few blows and he was already out of commission. And all of the Z Fighters come in, and 17 jumps in, as said before, and he starts knocking them all out. And the weird thing about all of this is The Z Fighters outnumbered the androids and they still got their asses kicked, and the androids speared them, telling you that these are not the killing machines that they were in the future. And with the exception of Krillin, who really didn't fight, and 18 give him a goodbye kiss, you know, everybody was helpless in this fight. And the true signal of what this fight told me is that, including Vegeta and everyone else, Goku, Gohan, all of you guys trained for this threat. You guys fought two weaker androids. You guys thought that everything was going to be alright. You trained for this. In Vegeta's case, he learned how to become a Super Saiyan. And you guys weren't even close to them. The androids had pity on you because of how weak you were. And what it really did for Vegeta and the Dragon Ball series moving forward was that it now signaled that Super Saiyans are not the pinnacle of strength. Because if you think about it, this fight was the first time that we really saw a Super Saiyan lose in Dragon Ball. I guess technically, in terms of chronological order, you know, future Trunks and future Gohan were Super Saiyans, and future Vegeta, I guess, you know, they fought against the androids in the future, and because that timeline technically comes first, I guess technically that's the first time we knew that Super Saiyans had lost. But in reality, I mean, this showed us that the Super Saiyans weren't all that. And it was from this battle on, in the hyperbolic time chamber room of Spirit of Time, that we started seeing the Saiyans specifically, you know, trying to figure out more ways to maximize their new Super Saiyan transformations that would ultimately lead up to the many forms that we have today, like Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan Grade 3, Super Saiyan Grade 4, Full Power Super Saiyan, Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan God. Like, this really started the trend of all of these popsicle Super Saiyan forms that we see later on in the Dragon Ball series. And it all started here, where Vegeta got his ass kicked by 18. And in addition to this, I mean, what it also did was that it pointed out that these two androids were toying with you. And had they not taken pity on you, you would all be dead, making all of the time you trained a waste of time, especially for Vegeta. This whole fight was a complete antithesis of what was happening to Vegeta's ego. As his ego was going up, as he felt like he had reached his pinnacle of strength and he had gotten so strong and he was doing so well and he'd finally surpassed his rival and his future son, only to be shut down by this woman who was toying with him and told him that your Super Saiyan form is nothing. And even the dub joked at this one. He was like, I worked so hard to get this power. And 18 was like, it's so sad. You worked so hard for so little. Sad for you. So, in essence, guys, I think this is all I really have to say for today. This is a shorter conversation, and I want to get your thoughts on, do you think this is one of the more underrated fights in Dragon Ball? As I definitely think it was, in terms of the drastic impact it would have on Dragon Ball moving forward with Vegeta's ego and all the Super Saiyan forms. And in addition to the Saiyans, even Piccolo was willing to fuse with Kami, a person who he would never fuse with before, in order to try and defeat the androids. As we would later see this throughout the Dragon Ball series moving forward multiple times. So, with everything else said, guys, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys. And if you guys have any more uncensored discussions that you guys want me to do, let me know in the comment section below.